Heidi ho. So in December 2020, I subscribed to Game Pass, and prior to then, probably like a few months, or at least one or a few weeks, I remember being on the fence about, oh, should I do this? It seemed like a thing where it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna want to do it, but is it a deal? Am I what's gonna happen if I subscribe? And since then, like right away, I've learned like no, yeah, Game Pass is a good deal. I don't try to shove it down people's throats all that often, and not everyone's on Xbox. Not that that matters entirely, because there's plenty of great content that becomes applicable on PC. You don't even need an Xbox to benefit from Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Um, so each year around this time I just decide to talk about these are the games that I played since the previous December, just so you have an idea of like, hey, yeah, this is the amount of content and quality content that I am getting out of a subscription. One thing though that I am a little peeved about is that so conveniently, so I got an Xbox Series X this year, and the controller does have a button right in the middle below the Xbox button that is great for capturing things. You tap it and it takes a screenshot, but if you hold it down for like a second, it'll take a capture of the last 30 seconds to a minute. Yeah, you can set the option, and then you can also take clips, and it'll take a capture of the last 30 seconds or a minute, whatever, of gameplay. Um, and then I get a notification right on my phone, which is usually right next to me, saying like, "Yep, we got the clip, we got the screen grab," which is great for sharing. You can just be like, "Oh, share on social medias this clip if something neat or worthy enough comes up." Um, but for me, I was knowing that I do this video, and part of me thinks like, oh, maybe it'd be fun to get into the hobby of reviewing games and making videos and da. So, point is, knowing I was making videos like this year, I was a little cognizant about, if as I'm playing a game, I should take captures of, oh, this last 30 seconds or so was a great example, a great sample of what you generally do when playing this game. So hoping I can amass a library so when I make this video, as I'm talking about games, rather than just seeing an image of the cover art or a keen image, you can kind of follow along and be like, oh, okay, I see what's happening in this game now. Kerry doesn't need to explain so much. But I guess Microsoft made a change recently, or in the last couple months. I think I got a notification about it at some point. Pretty sure I did. Where they're just like, oh, we're making a change from now on. Oh, yeah, and so another thing is you get on my phone, but also there was an app on my computer, which it was just automatically sending it to just like this repository. So you could just quickly and almost automatically just download all the videos, easy peasy lemon squeezy. But recently they made a change where it's just like, well, no, starting in January, we're gonna start deleting all these captures after 30 days. So your options are you could like plug in an external device on your console, which is an option. I just haven't done that yet. Or you can have the files all be sent automatically to OneDrive, and I do not like OneDrive. Uh, and just like a second ago, I was thinking like, well, like why did they do this? And I think it's just a matter of they're trying to fill up our OneDrives. This is a theory; it makes the most sense off the top of my head. Trying to fill up our OneDrive so we subscribe and pay more for our OneDrives because we love OneDrive so much. But no, it annoys me, so I want to give them any satisfaction whatsoever. So yeah, no. Back to what was fine last time. Even though, yeah, I was gonna say, if you like this video, you should thank Jason because he's one of the few people who have said, "Oh yeah, thanks for the video. I liked it. I just put it on and it's nice to listen to. So I don't know if anyone's going to be watching anyway. Um, yeah. But sorry, I am not going to provide amazing video content this time. Let's see. Oh yeah. So starting in December 2022, mid December, one of the first games that I started up or was new. So yeah, these are all new games. It was Immortals: Phoenix Rising by Ubisoft, and I really like Ubisoft. They've got a handful of good franchises and some that I'm sure are great, but I just don't. I mean, they got Assassin's Creed, they got Watch Dogs, the Far Cry games, and more. I think I saw the Game Awards. They're going to be making a new Prince of Persia. It has been a while. And probably others that you're like, oh, Kerry, you forgot this one. How could you? Rainbow Six. That sounds right. Okay. But yeah. But most of the games I did mention just there were open world games. And that's what Immortals Phoenix Rising falls into. And you know what? I think I really like open world games because yeah, as I've learned from, and I mentioned in my previous Game Pass videos, because of Game Pass, that's how I first started playing Slay the Spire. And in recent years, roguelikes and roguelites have shot up to become my favorite genre. But sometimes you want to play a game because your roguelikes is like they're good for the challenge. I do like challenging games from time to time, but sometimes I just want to sit down and know that I'm going to make steady progress in something. So where it's just like, sorry, just chat message. I just want to make steady progress. Like I just want to know, hey, or like with open world, sometimes you start off at a low level thing if there is leveling up, and you just want to go into a world where there's lots to do, lots of missions, have your pick of what you want to do at a given time, or maybe you don't even plan it, you don't even know what you're going to discover, but you just know that like if you want to do hard stuff, you can, but sometimes you just want to go around opening treasure chests, expanding the map a little bit. So yeah, Immortals Phoenix Rising, I ended up putting 102 or over 100 hours in, and I even bought the season pass, which is, I think, the way to go. How maybe many more of these companies who make games for Game Pass should, get a little something more out of it. Where it's like even these smaller companies, indie companies, where it's just like, well, okay, we've got our game on Game Pass, maybe no one's gonna buy it, but you know what? Make the game freely available, wink. But then if people like it, then if you make DLC available, maybe that's not your original plan. But if people like it, then they can support you more. That's great. Or the idea of like, you make one game free and then you release sequels which maybe aren't on Game Pass, and you allow Game Pass to open the door to the public, and then you can, if you make a quality product that they want more of, give them the options to give you more money. That being said, some people don't like DLCs because it's just like, well, or a lot of the times you hear, oh, you're paying more for stuff that's already on the disc. But no, Immortals Phoenix Rising, the DLC, playing these, I almost felt like they could have very well have just released 3 standalone games at a discounted price rather than call it DLC for this game. I mean, one of them was just a straight up continuation of the story. One, and each of these were made by different studios in, I believe, different countries at Ubisoft Studios. One was in a Chinese studio, where rather than continuing to use gods in the Greek pantheon, they did more of gods based on Chinese mythology or history, as it may be. And then the third DLC, which was risky and not so great, but so World Phoenix Rising, open world. If you looked at it for half a minute, you'd be like, "Wow, this looked like they ripped off Zelda Breath of the Wild." and it's just like, you know what? If you're gonna take inspiration from a game, that's a good game to try to take things off. Because yeah, as you go around, you see like there's a lot of climbing around. You got a stamina bar. There's sword combat. You get powers which are bestowed upon you by the gods. Um, in some places, if you don't look too deep, you think, oh yeah, this is just a ripoff of Breath of the Wild. But no, I think it's a pretty standard game. I kept playing. I loved it. Um, and it's there on Game Pass. Second game that I played was High on Life, which yeah. So I think this I don't know about my history, but I think this happened to come out before all the bad news about Justin Roiland. So I can certainly see now you might not want to play it. I mean, because of the association there. Um, a lot of reviewers didn't like it just because the game in itself was annoying. And it's fair enough. So essentially, High on Life, it's um, if you watched Rick and Morty, I think they had one or two episodes that were kind of like clip episodes, but not. Where what they were doing were they were watching TV, and it was on TV that the satellite picked up the feeds from all across the universes. So it was just wacky, messed up science fiction, pushing the envelope, not normal stuff. And High on Life is full of that as well. Um, with the occasional well, a trippy thing that is in the game is that at one point an alien moves into your house, uh, and he's watching TV, but in the channels it's a space channel where they're showing vintage movies from Earth, and apparently I didn't sit down and watch it, but they have three. Uh, I think they're from the 70s, maybe the 80s. Full movies in the game that really existed. Like I think one was like a campy cheerleader vampire movie. I might be mixing the two or three up. Maybe there was one about with dinosaurs and cheerleaders. Vampires and prostitutes was, I don't know, that you could just sit down and watch if you wanted to. Otherwise, the rest of the game it had to do with aliens who invaded Earth because somehow they realized that humans are a great drug. They're a great narcotic, high on life. But yeah, and so you're a silent protagonist who's a young what do they call that in game? Like a silent protagonist. Did I just say that? I may have. But one of the races that you come across are these sentient guns, which you can see in just in the center of the G there, is one of the first guns you meet, who sounds exactly like Morty from Rick and Morty. So, and he does all the talking. The guns keep talking. They don't shut up, which I find funny, but I can equally see people being like, "This is, I can't. I hate it so much." Aside from that, yeah, it was a first-person shooter with some exploration and Metroidvania in the sense of like, oh, you can't explore certain areas and find certain treasure chests of loot until you get such and such ability from finding such and such gun characters and swapping between them. It was more funny than polished, I would say. It was fine, but it just in some places just lacked that bit of polish. Uh, so there's certainly reasons I can not recommend it, but nothing there that makes me say like, oh man, this was so good that I do recommend it to anyone in particular. But hey, that and it was. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was a day one launch title on Game Pass. So there you go. I think this is a title I was on my radar. Definitely could have would have bought had it gone down, had it was not on Game Pass, and eventually was on sale. And I didn't listen too hard to the to the other reviews. Um, this one though was highly recommended. So this is the first new game I played on Game Pass, or new to me game I played on in Game Pass in 2023. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. But I didn't like it. I didn't care for it. But it does seemingly do a great job of demonstrating what it's like for someone with mental issues. That sounds bad. That's what mental health problems. Like the thing I said wasn't bad or rude. I just move on, man. Just move on. You do hear, because it's someone who's gone through a traumatic circumstance, which as you get towards the middle end of the game, you realize what's happened to them and what has broken them, and why they're going to such drastic lengths to advance the plot. But all throughout, you do hear these voices that sound almost like the main character, but but different enough, I think. But all these voices are constantly doubting the character, questioning them, expressing concern or exaggerating the dangers they're in, or putting them down. Um, but as for the gameplay, I didn't care for it that much. The combat wasn't too well. It was there wasn't a lot of combat. It wasn't too deep, and the rest of the time, it just barely stands out of being, I'd say, a walking simulator. I mean, there are some puzzles that just squeak it outside of me just calling it a walking simulator. But I did manage to finish it today. It took all year, and I was doing it for an achievement challenge from True Achievements. A highly anticipated game, re-release, a remake, if you will, GoldenEye 007. Yeah, geez, maybe I was 8 or 9 when this game came out. And yeah, that it was the bee's knees then, but it certainly is a romp playing through. And this time, to make things that much more different and special, I'm trying on a harder difficulty, and that's it's fun. Make it a bit more serious and impactful. But yeah, just playing the first few missions, it's just like, wow, first person shooters have come along quite a way. Like, I'm not gonna badmouth this game at all. It had its time, it had its place. I'm certain anyone who played it then and had a blast playing multiplayer is still gonna have a lot of fun playing the multiplayer today, and maybe be reminiscent of the story. GoldenEye and the cast of characters, and being like, oh, I remember how, Natalia always getting in the way. Get out of the way, I'm shooting here. But yeah, it's just amazing to see how much it's changed. Still fun though. And probably for the best that it became available in this situation for free. And I think this was astounding. I feel like Rare Replay probably came out 5-6 years ago. I might even be underestimating that. Rare Replay release. And the point I'm getting at, once I get this piece of information, okay, it's saying what I was going to spoil, is that, okay, when this game came out, GoldenEye 007, anyone who owned Rare Replay, which was an amazing deal in the first place. I think I bought it on promotion for like a E3 pre-order any games, you pre-order multiple games, you get 30% off. So I feel like I may only pay $30 for this. Um, and for like a 40 plus history of rare games. 40 plus games, I should say. Not all of them GoldenEye worthy. But yeah, if you bought Rare Replay, sorry, if you had a digital copy of Rare Replay, once GoldenEye came out, you got GoldenEye for free. Um, Oh, that's why. Yeah, August 4th. So yeah, Rare Replay is 8 years old. 2015. So, I mean, they could have just not done that. They could have just been like, oh, remember that great bargain game we had? You can pay more. You can give us more money now. But I think even since then, Rare Replay may. I want to say it was a Games with Gold at some point, too. So even if you didn't buy it, you may have got it for free. And I think the entire game, all Rare Replay is available on Game Pass too. And even then, I think I saw at one point Rare Replay was $7. um, so GoldenEye 007, I think it was just the game proper. They did. I don't recall them adding any like, ooh, the history or the making of, or here's a featurette about the global impact it had and how some people still revere it today, and they didn't have to. And maybe that's why it's free for so much. So yeah, that was just another great surprise available on Game Pass. How long did I play it for? 7 hours. I got half the gamer score, maybe half the achievements. Good times. Yeah. It may also have been available on Nintendo Switch Online, included in the if not, yeah, probably in the expansion pass. So free if you're paying for that subscription. This was a smash hit that just came out of nowhere and didn't have any mark. Like it was just like, here it is, go play it. Hi-Fi Rush, um, which I don't know why it didn't capture my attention. Like I had a blast. It's a fun game. It's very high energy and you feel great. And the character is charismatic, like dumb, dumb as bricks, but he just wants to rock and he's got a metal arm which makes metal fly towards him, and it assembles a guitar, and he got I'm not saying it correctly, but he got essentially a pacemaker which captures the beat of the environments around him. Somehow, for whatever reason, the factory he's in, everything's going to the same beat as the background music, which you can tap along. And yeah, combat's just a hoot. It's not punishing in terms of like, oh, you have to hit things along with the beat, similar to say Crypt of the Necrodancer, which is a game I feel like as well, and the Zelda one, Cadence of Hyrule, I think it was called, where those are games where on paper I should love them, because I like rhythm games too. Certainly played like all the Rock Bands and Guitar Heroes. But they just it's I think it's just a matter of like, if you're not on beat and can't keep it. I don't know if that was on beat, probably not. Then you will die. Whereas in this game, it's like, no, it's you if you're on beat, it's just cooler. Your attacks hit more. You probably do more damage, longer combos, higher scores, which I don't think really matter unless you want to complete this thing to the max. So it's just supportive and fun and rock and roll. And yeah, just a highly regarded game that came out, and it wasn't a matter of like, oh, here's this game we're working on. Oh, let's raise the hype for 3 years. I'm pretty sure it just came out, or maybe like this game's. I don't remember what the event would have been, because it certainly wasn't a Nintendo update thingy, but they just said, "Here's this game that's coming out tomorrow." And it came out, and everyone was like, "Wow, this game is a lot of fun." So yeah, I started it. Maybe played 2 levels, put it down. It was on my Xbox for the longest time. Picked it up again recently, and it wasn't too difficult to get back into it. And I'm looking forward to finishing it soon. Pardon my nose noises, if you can hear them. Let's see. Now, this game isn't necessarily a game that was available on Game Pass per se, but if you did subscribe to Game Pass, then you do, or Game Pass Ultimate, then you did also have games with gold. Um, hmm, hmm. Okay, well, let me just talk about For the King. Okay, so games with gold is/was, now it's was as of the end of this year, a system where every month you would get, well, over time, at one point it was 5, then I think this year it came down to 4, maybe 2, and now it's gone. Free games as long as you were subscribed. They'd essentially be added to your library as long as you had a subscription to Xbox. I think if you unsubscribed, then you'd lose access to the games, but if you resubscribed, you'd regain access to the games, so long as you claimed them when they were the free games of the month. For the King was one such game, which sounded good. Roguelike is how it was by the sounds of it. Kind of plays like a not so much. Well, just there's a hexagonal grid in a fog of war, and I can't remember if the mission all starts the same. If it's a generic, heroes, go out there and save the king. Makes sense to me. This is a game I played for 3 hours in February. Give me a break. But yeah, they said at the very start of the game of like, yeah, you're just a heads up. This isn't a standard game or standard RPG where if you go out and you lose a fight and you die, you can just reload a save uh, and level up. And it's like, no, they explained this is a roguelike, which is like, okay, but we have roguelikes. We have roguelikes. You don't have to warn us every of this. Like, it's just a new genre, right? But the one thing about this, like, I say I played for 3 hours, and like, I don't think I did. I don't know if I did like scratch. I don't know if I made a dent, a real impact into one campaign session. So I think it's a matter of like, yeah, you could play for, I have no idea, 10, 15, 20 hours maybe, and potentially lose the campaign and have to start over. It's like, whoa, that's heavy. And yeah, it was kind of tough until you learn the mechanics. You could really bail out, but it was very, and when I say tough, it's just more along the lines of like, yeah, standard RPG fare, but I think they did have a lot of things that were rolls of d20s, so it's kind of like, and percentages is the point. So like, it's kind of like XCOM, where if you got miffed that people could die permanently, it's just like, well, imagine you lose the campaign because you didn't manage your resources, didn't really think about, oh, how much rations do I have, and then you went into a mine or a dungeon and it ended up being longer than you anticipated and you just lost. I don't really remember much. Did not grab my attention. Apparently, I played for 3 hours and eventually uninstalled it. So as I was saying, okay, Games with Gold is gone. It was still a little confusing with the transition, and it revealed things about Game Pass I didn't even know were things or concerns. Because yeah, I keep saying Game Pass, but the fact of the matter is, this whole time I've been subscribed to something called Game Pass Ultimate, which not only includes Game Pass, but Game Pass for PC, which I think you could buy individually, and it also included Games with Gold. But I was always under the impression that Game Pass was an upgrade to Games with Gold. Um, I guess not games ago, but like when Xbox Live became a service, to my understanding, I wasn't there day one because I used to be a Nintendo fanboy. But my understanding is for many years, the memberships were silver, which was just like the free. You have a gamer tag. It keeps track of your achievements. That's about it. Like you have a profile that exists. Gold became okay. Now you can play online with people and be included in leaderboards and such. And one feature at some point, yeah, I think. Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like I wonder if games with gold was a thing this whole time I had gold. I can't remember that far back. Because that would have been 18 years ago. Holy moly! Yeah, that sounds about right. 2006, maybe I got an Xbox 360. No, 17 years then. So if you have a gold subscription, one of the features was games with gold, which was just so in the 360 time, I'm pretty sure it was 2 free games a month, maybe 3. Um, which yeah, for that month they were free on the store, and then if you bought them, which is essentially just tying that to your account, as long as you had a gold subscription, you could play those games. Um, for as long as you had a subscription, yeah. And then if you unsubscribed and resubscribed, you get access to them again. Um, and then when the Xbox One came out, which was interesting, was even if I didn't have an Xbox One, I could still go up like Microsoft.com, whatever, find these games with gold on Xbox One in the store, buy them for free, and then they were added to the account. Um, so they would, for the longest time, it was 4 free games a month, 2 for Xbox 360, which actually those I believe just at some point those are just add to your account. Forget the subscription thing. Um, and then 2 free Xbox One games a month. Um, the change this year was, and I think last year, sorry, this year and last year, I think at this point, whenever they announced free games, no one cared. They weren't fancy. Um, I'm afraid I couldn't really tell you any great examples of games that were available on Games with Gold because I just don't remember where games I've played in the past came from originally. But like I feel like Rare Replay was one at some point, as an example. It was very surprising. It'd be like a top notch. Whoa, this game certainly wasn't anything new. um, so yeah, so in this year they've gotten rid of gold, but now they have something called Game Pass Core. And so you can subscribe for Game Pass, get access to all the games. You can subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate and get all the games and all the games on PC Game Pass. You subscribe for PC Game Pass, and you can get Game Pass Core, which I believe is just the as minimum as it can be. You get online access, and you also get access to looks like 25 games which rotate. And these are actually pretty sweet games. Dead Cells is on there, so yeah, it's mostly gonna be like for Microsoft um, Studio games. I see like Fables here, as well as company or games from companies that Microsoft now or own. Is that right? Do they own Bethesda? Is that the idea? So like Fallout 4 and 76. Um, let's see, Halo, of course. So it's not Power Simulator, Psychonauts, Slay the Spires on here. That's pretty cool. Shredder's Revenge. That's amazing. Vampire Survivors. So yeah, some like solid stuff, a fair variety of stuff. And my understanding is they do swap them out, so it's not like you're constantly getting updates with like, oh, here's the newest game. Apparently, you don't get Game One titles. That's fair. Um, but still a bunch of games that by the time you've played 5 of them, oh, there's something new on here, or some of these are meant to last. So that's cool. Um, but yeah, it doesn't affect me. I talked about it for so long. So yeah, so this For the King may have been one of the last games with gold games. Maybe, I don't know. But now that it is Game Pass Core, fortunately they didn't piss everyone off by taking all the games with gold games back. So anyone, who knows how long this will last. Um, but anyone who has accumulated all these free games monthly for however many years, we still have them. Yay. Sunset Overdrive. That was the first one that I got that was on Xbox One before I even had an Xbox One. And certainly is a game I've been meaning to play this whole time. Haven't gotten around to it though. Let's see. So in March 10th, I think leaving late one night, I decided to start playing Midnight Fight Express. Um, it looked like it was a brawler with sophisticated controls, some of which seemed reminiscent of like the Batman Arkham games, but in a top geometric view. I keep saying, oh, like Super Mario RPG, if that paints a good picture. Um, but I don't know what it was. I only played for 20 minutes, and it was removed from Game Pass in August 2023. So which was on including Game Pass for 1 year. Let's see. Oh, so continuing the theme though of so yeah, that's kind of the bummer outcome of Game Pass. I will get to the games which were removed pretty quickly. Let me just but the thing is, there's two well, okay, if I may conveniently without thinking about it, I'll say there's two outcomes to a game being removed from Game Pass. Well, three if you include doesn't bother me, man. I wasn't gonna play that. Oh well. There's that. There's oh no, this game that I wanted to play. It sucks. I mean, but like I said, I started in March, played it once, meant to play it some more, didn't. It was removed in August with I think like 15 days notice they give you. And they put it and they discount it at the time, so it's like okay, whoops. Um, but sometimes when they remove a game from Game Pass, it is a good thing. And another game they removed was Life is Strange: True Colors, and it was removed in April 2023. And that was a game that I saw was on there. Like I played Life is Strange. I played Life is Strange 2, I think last year. So it was certainly there, and I was like, oh man, that's a feature. That's a bonus to Game Pass. I'm gonna play that game. It's just a matter of when. And then I saw online it's like, oh, it's being removed from the service in 15 days. So I beat it in 2. Life is Strange, good game, I thought. I think I preferred Life is Strange 2 more. Um, this one, now that I think about it, I was gonna say like, well, the powers in it are less fantastical, but then it also dawned on me that the plot of the situation also seems more realistic, and therefore, because it's less fantastical and less off the wall, perhaps it's more impactful. Like the first one was about Life is Strange, a girl who can rewind time, but I think only briefly. Um, and I'm just trying to think about what the issue was. Like I know, was it someone was murdered or someone? Oh, I think in the beginning, like someone brought a gun to the school and shot her friend, and she was there, so she was able to rewind time and therefore save things. But then consequences of messing with time. Time will mess with you back. I think. I think that was what happened. Um. Oh, and my stepdad's a jerk. Those were the stakes in the first one. The second one, it was a kid who ended up having telekinetic abilities, but he's like you play his older brother, um, and I think the older brother's protecting the younger brother, like trying to constantly remind him, like, you got to keep your powers under wraps, man. The government will find you and take you away. That's like fair enough, fair enough. But he had Jedi powers. In this one, oh, and the consequent. What was it? Well, okay, I don't want to ruin everything that happened in the second one because it's pretty good. But essentially, it's two brothers trying to survive without the older one, who was you, the protagonist, trying to like be a good older brother, but also protect his and hide his superpowers. And there's also the conflict of like, well, why should he listen to me if he's the one with superpowers? Even though you're the older, mature brother. Life is Strange. I think in this one, you could, the person could tell how people were feeling, like they'd see a colorful aura around them. But I think the cursing to their blessing is that if someone had particularly strong emotions, she would have them too. And it takes place in this quaint town where like there's a mining company who probably owns 80% of the town, and they're up to some shady stuff. So like I'm saying, the just feels like a more real and something that might affect a lot more people. So the point is, there's an upside to things being taken away from the service, and that is, like you ever go on Netflix and you just, oh man, I want to watch something, but I have no idea what, and you scroll and you scroll and you scroll, and sometimes you end up doing more scrolling than watching. One thing that always gets me to watch something is when it says, we're taking this off the service in a week or by the end of the month. That makes me go, fine, that's good enough. I want to, I got to, because it's a limited time. So same thing. I wanted to play this game eventually. He said he was going to take it away. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to play it now. And I did, and I enjoyed myself. Value. Oh, the other games that were this is so yeah. Let's see. Games that left Game Pass and I wasn't done include, let me see if I can just jump ahead in the images. Young Souls. So yeah, this was a game kind of like Midnight Fight Express, where it's well, actually, yeah, there's more comparisons than I realized going into this. I was gonna say it was a game that sounded good, so I installed it, started playing it. For whatever reason, not because it wasn't great and good, it just didn't capture my interest, or perhaps something else caught my interest. And it's a brawler, I just realized. But RPG brawler, you have two characters who, maybe you give one more aggressive gear and you give one more defensive gear, and you want to play one at a time, unless you're playing co-op, which I never did. So you can swap them out, so that way you can have different play styles going. So with this one, it was being taken off the service. Let's see, in March 2023. I started at some point in 2022. So I just figured, well, seems like a short enough game. So I turned the difficulty. You know me, I like to play on normal or sometimes hard. Yeah, and I like to play the games that I know that are tough, but possible and fair. Woo. So I'm like, well, you know what? Apparently, it's a short enough game. Turn it down on easy, just so I could play through it. And what I unfortunately discovered is that I robbed myself out of a good experience. Here I am trying to say, like, I wouldn't say the story was great. The setting was great. The idea of um, I think it was a matter of above ground is a normal city, below ground there's monsters, and they're this close to invading the town. So you gotta go downstairs and teach them what's what. Um, but the characters and humor were pretty funny, and I was caught off guard that one of the teams swore, which I think I mentioned in my previous video of the year. Let's see. Another young. So at least I got through it. Probably would have savored it more had I known how good it was after playing it. Didn't really have time to play it again, nor do I really play games again that often. Uh, let's see. Another game that was taken out same month, March 2023, is Square Enix's Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. This one I did not turn down the difficulty as I was halfway through. It was a decent enough game, and I ended up getting all but one achievement, which I think it was along the lines of like find everyone's was it costume or like lore, just some items you got to pick up, which there was really no indication of like where they were or hit some generic some well no a lot of it too was like there was chapter select, but like the chapters were so long and the pieces you're looking for could be anywhere. um so I just went, nope, I didn't get enough of them that I'm even close. That's too bad. No completion for me. This was a surprising one that they took out. Tetris Effect Connected, which was also, well, first of all, it's just a weird game because it's like Tetris, woohoo, but is a blast playing it in a VR, which I don't normally do. But I was over at their place and they're like, Kerry, put this on your head. Whoa, it's Tetris and it's dancing around me. But yeah, I don't know. I was just surprised because I don't know. It just seems like, well, I don't know. Someone made a decision. It makes business sense to someone. Um, Now, yeah, but it had a lot of achievements which were like, spin Tetris pieces a million times. So grindy like that, or like get 1,000 all clears, or Tetrises in a row. Not 1,000 in a row, but combos, that and um. So yeah, I did what I figured what I could and was reasonable. While what was I watching? I feel like I was probably watching dropout videos, maybe. That is to say, it's not called College Humor anymore. Or Ricky Gervais. Meh. I digress. I'm just saying, Tetris and Microsoft, you think should go hand in hand, and that's for someone to just be like, nah. That worked, but it wasn't for us. We're just gonna go back to selling it to people. I The Ascent, uh, which I did play on a recommend, and it was one of those things too, where it's just like, oh man, who else is playing this game? Come join me and play this game, and then we just never actually. I don't think I even have this person on my Xbox friends. But yeah, I did, and this one I did turn it down to easy and played through it. But in this case, yeah, there's a once again similar to Midnight Fight Express, only not a brawler, but in that same top-down isometric view, but with guns, but with a lot of guns, a lot of variety of guns. I don't think it was necessarily a shooter and looter, but a shooter and RPG. Which yeah, I had a. I want to. I think it was just a more. the story was kind of like a rags to riches. You're just like a person who cleans up the tunnels one day, and then you do a job for someone, and then you do a job for a more powerful someone, and then I can't remember if you stumble on the great technological advancement of our time, but there's very cyberpunky stuff going on. Um, and I think in this case, turning down the difficulty and just shooting people and blasting them away without much, without the feeling of invulnerability. Well, not necessarily invulnerability, but unlikely that someone's gonna take you down was just fun and a good power trip. Do I have Midnight Fright Express? Yeah, Midnight Fright Express. Only had one achievement. I did not think to go and get more because I think there were definitely some that were like, well, do these impossible. Oh yeah, no, this was a statistic I wrote down where, because if you look at trueachievements.com, and I think there's also one for PlayStation called like True Trophies. One thing that's fun about it for a person like me is all the stats and data that it just compiles, and sometimes they put it on fancy charts. Actually, can I just bring that in? Let's see here. Fancy schmancy charts with a lot of information because whether or not you need to opt in, I don't think you need to opt in. I think it just harvests all the data from all the Xbox plays. Microsoft must make all this information freely available. Midnight Fight Express. So one thing that's fun to do, or what's useful, is if I'm looking at a game, and I will reiterate, when I look at games, things I look at is like, okay, look at the achievements, because that's why I play games, for achievements. It's sick, I know. And how hard, impossible, or too easy is it to get the achievements in them? What's the price? What are reviews? How long is the game? These are things I look into. And let's see if I can just go. Bloop. Okay. Ads. Get it. So then you can also sort achievements by like, hey, how are you kidding me? Are they not gonna let me scroll sideways? Bugger. Okay, so this table here is what I was just gonna point out. So this is the y-axis is number of players, the x-axis is how many achievements they've unlocked, and most, depending on the game, how popular it is, how easy it is, most of the tables are, well, this is the most exaggerated I've ever seen, where it's just like, well, obviously, yeah, like a lot of people are gonna have not, well, once again, it depends on how easy it is to complete the game. Usually there'll be a big spike at the end because more often than not, if you have most of the achievements, you're going to go ahead and get all the achievements. But as you can see here, apparently in Midnight Fight Express, I think it's just on Xbox, and I'm pretty sure it's not just True Achievements users. 33,000, including Woodrow 1, gamers got one achievement in the game, and that's all they got, versus 5,000 have two. So 33,000 stopped after getting one, and then 5,000 got two, 2,500 got three, and then it just gets smaller and smaller until there's a tiny bump at the end because it's just like, well, why would you stop at only 10 people have all but one achievement in the game? Because they're like, well, they got busy. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they got removed from Game Pass before they got that one achievement, and 10 people are hooped. So looking at that, it's kind of like, okay, fine. I'm not going to be able to complete this in 15 days. I only got one achievement. I'm not going to try. I don't know what stopped all these people. That's one of the things. I hope I didn't mess up the. Where was I? Oh, yeah, Life is Strange. That wasn't where I was it? Oh yeah, I guess I was talking about all the games. Which are at the end. All the games I removed from Game Pass. Midnight Fight Express. So yeah, once again, so I whether or not I will buy this game on sale, well, it's kind of the thing. Is like I usually don't. I would, yeah, very few circumstances where it's like, okay, you play a game. If I don't finish it, if I just completely lose momentum, there's got to be a reason for why I got to jump into it again, and that's why I started in March. Did I say I started in March 10th, and then I guess I didn't play at all until in August. They said, "Oh, we're moving it," so it's kind of like, well, clearly the game didn't grab me the first time. But apparently it was a really, really good game. Um, so it's on my wish list. Probably. I'm actually surprised if it's not. Um, but it's kind of like, well, if it didn't grab me the first time, maybe does it have to be a real good price before I actually buy it? And I don't know how many people think that way. This was actually an unfortunate one to go kind of in the middle though, because yeah, it was a game I was playing. Gunfire Reborn is the name of the game, and yes, it was one that I was on again, off again. It is a rogue light first person shooter, which is the first of that kind that I played. Um, and yeah, you've got these different classes, which are represented by different animals, which did have different play styles. They had different special abilities and different just attributes and quirks, um, and talent trees. Those are fun, but randomized talent trees too. So it's kind of like, hey, when you open a chest and you get pick one of 2 or 3 upgrades, and okay, well, yeah, keep in mind, like, if I invest in this one, it'll benefit if I keep investing in that color, kind of thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed this game. Um, except I wasn't great. Well, I think I was relatively very good, but yes, I could beat it myself, but there's lobbies you join. And yeah, unfortunately, the success of each of my runs really, I feel it depended on who I got paired up with. Which, fortunately, when you see who you're with, it's kind of like, oh, this guy's level 100 and this guy's level 6. But you don't know if this level 6 person is a diligent player who understands the fundamentals of gameplay, or maybe they suck. And once or twice, I end up matching with someone who's level 100 and be like, how are you still a noob? I think just for reference, did I write down how long I played? I don't think I did. Maybe I did. I played for 50 hours, um, and I probably reached level 106. So level 100, like you've got to play for quite a while. Or maybe they were just playing a class they didn't. But I don't know. But in those times where I was matched up with people who knew what they were doing, who have beaten the game before, and I hate to say it, but like could carry me through. Sometimes, I felt, yeah, I certainly felt like sometimes my diligence helped. Pretty sure. Sometimes no, some people just like really know what they were doing. The kind of people who just like, yeah, I know how to kill this boss in 3 seconds, which shouldn't be possible, but they know the gun combination. Surprisingly, a lot of math in the game. In math that I didn't figure out myself, and still at the end couldn't really figure out how to benefit. It was a matter of like you get these bonuses which add multipliers, and on the one hand you might think to yourself like, oh well, obviously if I upgrade, let's say, my likelihood to do critical damage, right? Like you think, oh, you max that out and you're gonna win, right? But then it's like, well, actually, if you max out uh, a bunch of different things, which all have a modifier to them, then the net benefit's gonna increase exponentially rather than linearly. Math, which you can't ignore if you want to. Um, but yeah, just play who you think you like. Um, use the guns that you're good at. But yeah, sometimes it's just like, and yeah, as a good roguelike should do. Um, like I could get so far, and that so far got farther and farther as I played, and and after a while, the diminishing returns of like what you can invest in so that the game is easier or you're more skilled was getting shorter and shorter. So at some point, it's just like, yeah, your natural skill does need to carry some of it, as well as the other players help too. So yeah, this was a game that was removed. Let's see. So I started it in May. Gunfire Reborn, and it was removed in October. And then in October, I kind of thought like, well, you know what? Let me see all the achievements I can get. There's some where it's just like, okay, beat it on hardest difficulty. No, I can. It depends on who I'm playing with. Maybe if I knew people who played and they were diligent, I could beat it on second hardest difficulty. I think 4. But like some of the achievements there were just like beat the game in 30 minutes, and it's like, no, no. This takes me an hour and a half. You're crazy. So I got 71% of the achievements. And yeah, it's on my wish list now. But yeah, I think if it's under, it'd have to be under $10 for me to play it. I think it's by default 25. But I'd say, knowing what I know now, that is a fair price. Although, yes, and we'll get into this into another video tomorrow, maybe. How much I pay on games, and on average, it is less than $25. Um, let's see. Especially for something where it's just like, well, I don't. Who are these people? What's Gunfire Reborn? And the last game that left Game Pass, and I'll say I wasn't done, was Disc Room. But yeah, I had all the achievements but 3 of them, and it was removed from the service on November 2023, and I mostly played in October and November of 2022. So I once again I looked at the last 3 achievements and I was just like, I don't think I'm gonna get these. Disc Room, fun game, looks simple. It looks simple but very hard. But it's the kind of hard. It's the good kind of hard where it's just like, as far as difficulty goes, one thing, one of the one of the things that helps me feel like, oh, this is a good thing where it's hard but possible, is when the thing that you have to do that is hard is short. You know? Where it's like, let's say, like, picture, if you will, Donkey Kong and, like, the minecart races, right? Or the levels. Where it's just like, oh, I keep missing the jumps. Ah. But it's like, in your mind, it's like, sure, you might die because you didn't see, oh, I was supposed to jump here. Or, oh, I wasn't supposed to jump until the last second. It's kind of like, if you can learn it, and the whole level is like 2 minutes long, sure, you might die a bunch of times on the way, but if you can just be diligent for 2 minutes and do it the right thing for 2 minutes, you can do it. So Disc Room, though, it'd be like you're in this room where there's a bunch of spinning saw blades of varying deadliness and movement and shape, and so I think it was like 25 different saw blades towards the end. And it was just like, you know what? In order to unlock the next room, or there'd be multiple things. So it's just like, in order to open this door, like you'd be in a square room, you'd enter through one door, and there might be 3 locked doors. And it's like, okay, so in order to get through this door, survive for 10 seconds. The next one might be, or the one that might be like, you have to have cleared 10 rooms in order for this door to unlock, kind of thing. So if you go back and clear out some other paths, and yeah, you can go back and do it. So the point is, of the remaining achievements I had, a couple of them were just like survive every room for 20 seconds, and it's just kind of like that. So, like I say, sounds possible. I couldn't do it. In fact, so one of the achievements was survive every room for 20 seconds each. You have infinite tries. But like another one of the achievements was like do that, but not for every level, but every level in like a specific zone. And maybe there were like 5 zones. So it's like if I can't even do it in one of the zones, forget all the levels, man. Um, so yeah, satisfying if you like to go why, which sometimes I do. If I feel like it's possible. That doesn't taunt me with its possibility. That's not words. And now I've lost the ability to scroll to the left. There we go. So yes, so in summary of this subsection of my report, um, there were oh yeah what 7 games. Oh, there's one. There's my microphone's here. Sorry. Yes. Well, actually, one more game, but you'll see why it's an exception in a second. There were 7 games removed from Game Pass this year where it's just like, well, technically I hadn't completed, I wasn't finished with these games. But then again, 3 of them, Young Souls, The Ascent, Midnight Friday Express, I barely even started anyway, so that's on me, I didn't finish. So like, it doesn't happen that often. Or not a super inconvenience amount where you'd be like, well, this whole thing's worthless then if they're just gonna take games away from me. Oh, I guess yeah, Life is Strange isn't included because I only played it because they were removing it. And I was gonna say another game that kind of makes this list, but not really, is Knockout City, which was a day one release on Game Pass. And I don't the advertising was just great for me. I was signed up. Usually I don't, because as I mentioned earlier, I like to see a little how hard is it to get the achievements. I very seldom play day one games because I need some idea of like I need people to play it and be like, well, this is 50% of the gamers got stuck here, or like Midnight Friday Express is like most people only have one achievement. I don't know. It just seemed like a neat idea. Um, uh, how you say, well, just competitive online game of dodgeball in teams of 3. And it worked very well because you didn't have to aim. You could just lock in on people, and then as a result, a lot more of the skill was the dodging and the timing of catching the ball if you really wanted to dare doing so. But in that first week or so, because I felt this was an experience no one played, or it was new to me. So I found it was very interesting that you could do things to psych people out because it's like this is a strategy you didn't think of yet, ha ha ha. But the point is, Knockout City. It was a day one Game Pass game. This was in May of 2021, and then it became free to play in June of 2022. So it was a free game. So whether or not it was on Game Pass didn't matter. And then the servers shut down in June of 2023. So it wasn't Game Pass's fault that this game was gone anymore. I think, yeah, there were a couple buggy achievements I couldn't get and like had been trying this whole time, but one was just like travel a kilometer or however many kilometers, and that one I grinded out while listening to Game Grumps with Ben Schwartz as their special guest. I do like Ben Schwartz. Okay, going back to the list of games on brilliant. Going back to the list of games available on Game Pass, which I started playing this year. Takes us to, or back to, so Life is Strange True Colors out. I started playing April 2nd. April 16th, I started playing this game called Deep Rock Galactic, which was highly recommended to me. But you know what? I think I'm gonna stop. Well, hold on. This particular person so far has suggested Subnautica. Is that what? It was a deep sea diving game, which I didn't like, which was also on Game Pass. Uh, and he recommended Cyberpunk, which I did like, and then Deep Rock Galactic, which he took the time to show me how to play. And then I tried it on my own with the idea being, okay, maybe I'll play, level up, I can play with them. But no, I tried. Oh, and this is a game where, um, I'm trying to think of it's PVE, where you're this dwarven mining company in space, uh, who just you're one of four different classes of miners, and you go out on these missions. I didn't get too far in like the tutorial land or tutorial series of missions. So I'm pretty sure I didn't play all the mission types, but there's a variety of mission types. Um, then you go down, and it could be something like go in and find minerals, and perhaps if you find too many minerals, then aliens will attack at some point. There's massive bugs, or go down and fix these um, drilling machinery things. And a lot of the exploration is so like you go to this land mass, possibly an asteroid, and you'd have to like you'd land in a cave and you start having to dig through all these tunnels. And what really bummed me out was like that was really slow, just digging through these tunnels. And I think even like of the classes, they all had different range of mobility. I want to say one of the guys, perhaps the second one in this image, had like grappling hooks, and one of the characters was more of a tank who could shoot. I'm trying to think of that activity where you go out and it's like you slide on a rope and you just go like wee. You can do so they can shoot a rope and then you can attach a cart under it and it just slowly goes along the rope. That's how you can traverse. And one of them's just super good at digging, like just has drills for hands and just can quickly dig through the rock, but just still wasn't quickly enough for me. And so unfortunately I got one achievement, so now it's on my record. But I think it's supposed to take like hundreds of hours. You're supposed to play again and again. But see, one thing this game does have going for it though is it supposedly has the best community of players. Like everyone's just in a good mood and helpful and supportive and like there for the community. I unfortunately don't remember the thing that everyone says. Like there's just a catchphrase like rock on. It's not rock on, but like for the mine. Or and if you say it, like if you do the emote to say it, people will look at you and raise their chisel and go like for mining is good. Yeah, but 2.5 hours. I didn't just straight up give up on it. I gave it a fair chance. But I imagine though the thing is, yeah, like if it's slow and digging, I think it's supposed to play with friends, play with the community. I don't play online games that often enough that I have my headset on ever. One game I did not sleep on though is Citizen Sleeper, one of which I really wish I had a capture to demonstrate what it is you do in this game. Because I thought it was pretty, well, I don't know, I'm sure there's a lot of people who's just going to be like, well, no, Kerry, it's just a fancy, like Zork, how you say those RPGs where it's text. Man, I should know words better, especially gaming words. But yeah, it's I don't know if this is true for everyone or just the character I started with, but you're a robot or a synth, or maybe like one of these like synth who it's hard to tell if you're a robot. Actually, I don't remember at all. But you only have so much energy a day. With having said that, it's kind of like, well, that's how maybe you could play as a human and have that same problem. Um, and that's depicted on a meter, and the number of the longer that meter is, when you start a day, you roll so many dice, and so it's kind of like if your meter's this long, that's one that fits one die, two dice, so on, so on, so on. And then, and by dice I mean d6s, if I remember correctly, and so it's like, okay, for that day you have this arrangement of dice or array, and then you go in and you just decide to do things, and depending on what it is you decide to do, if it requires any skill checks, and it's just like, well, you can plug in, you can choose a die to use on that skill check, plus also factor in your talent tree, your skills, and any talents and perks you have earned, which may affect the outcome of the roll. Well, it's not really a roll because you're putting in a 6 on a die, but there's still a random chance of this, like, oh, or something like that. Some of the time. Or I guess it's more along the lines of everything you try to do, it says, oh, there's a like a high risk of failure, moderate, or low, and it's kind of like, okay, well, if you put on a low risk a 6, then it's like no risk kind of thing, or very unlikely. Um, and yeah, so you just go around making decisions, and with some and doing talking to people, and with the occasional dialogue options. Um, and yeah, it's about you're on a spaceship, and like I say, oh yeah, and as you and I want to say along. One of the things was, at least in my playthrough, was there you had to go and get shots for something that rejuvenated you and refilled your energy. And if if your total energy thing depleted, then it was implied it's going to be game over. You're just going to run out of batteries or health. Um, but these shots were expensive, so it was very, oh my goodness, I need to think about how much money am I bringing in and spending every day, and is it going to be enough at the end of 6 days to go back to the pharmacy and get this shot? Um, and also there was this vague sense of like, oh, hey, you're a sentient being. Yeah, I think you had to be a robot. You had to be a sentient. Uh, um, and those are illegal in the systems, and someone's gonna find you out. Oh, they're coming. Um, the weird thing was when that was resolved for me, the game wasn't over. So it kind of took the sting out of like, oh, okay, am I no longer like I'm doing things on a day to day basis, but it doesn't seem anymore like there's a countdown. Or eventually I figured out how to get enough money resources to just. Oh no, I think I eventually upgraded to a point where it's like, oh, I can just cure myself every so often, so I didn't need to get those shots anymore. Um. Oh, I'm just realizing. Yeah, so that's what those under the Citizen Sleeper. It's got a pattern, and those represent the 6 dice uh, that you get and could. So yeah, so it really was like if I show a game a day, an in-game day, just might be like, well, okay, I'll go to the. Oh, I see this spaceship has flown in, and they often have work available if you want to sort scrap metal. You don't actually do it. It's just you say, yeah, I'll commit to that, and I've got metal, I've got technical ability, um, and then sometimes so you'd get money as a result of agreeing to, like putting in a die to do it. and depending on the die roll, maybe you randomly get some scrap metal or some resource. And then I might go to the Noodle Hut to talk to the Noodle Hut proprietor, who's got his own story, which goes over time. Which that was a neat thing too, which is like some of these people that you talk to, some of these things, it time passing kind of mattered because they can only reveal so much of their story so much at a time. So while I'm going through the gameplay loop of like, okay, making sure my my character has income and food and health, they might be like, oh, please, you also have to provide security services, as an example. And in 3 days' time, I'll review what you did or didn't do. And all kinds of stories like that. But at some point, I don't know if I broke it. The time limits seem to matter less and less until eventually the story could have ended, and like I think maybe the main story did, and it just kept going. It was kind of strange. Or maybe it was just kind of like, well, let people keep playing if they're still having fun. I don't know. But apparently, I only played for 5 3/4 hours. But you bet if they took it off the service soon, I'd be like, oh, gotta wrap it up. Escape Academy is a game I played because Clinton was over and he had a hankering. We had a hankering for some let's play some co-op games. And Escape Academy doesn't really look like much, but like the game starts off in a pretty rundown, low tech. Oh, we're missing a few pieces. Sorry, signed management. Escape room. And then when you escape from this escape room, you discover, oh, there's this elite academy of pro escapers. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And yeah, as far as and then so every level beyond that point, I can't remember there being much of a story that mattered. Like, oh, come meet the professor. Oh yeah, now go do this escape room. And then you do one, and maybe it's like, oh no, this other guy we know is being kidnapped. You go save him, and then it's just another escape room. But I think it did a very good job of being taking the escape room experience and putting it into a video game setting. Um, with the benefits that video games afford of just, you don't have to physically design things. You can just say, oh, when they solve this, like door unlocks, and it's just easy peasy. It's less stressful and confining than physical reality. Yeah. Um and yeah, and for two people, we were running around having fun. Clinton was solving things, or sorry, before I even saw things, or I'd say, "Oh yeah, I've seen a thing like that." And we were trying to solve these as fast as we could because there was a definite like ranking system, and we are getting all A's. Except on this one mission we got stuck on because we had a third person in the room who was watching, and he studies math, and he was so confident he had the right answer to a pretty elementary school word problem. Um, he was so confident that we didn't question it. So he's just like, oh, 16. It's 16, obviously. No, or 13, obviously. But it turned out to be 16, and he felt so bad. But it was okay. But also, yeah, yeah, yeah. We never finished, just because it's but I think we got a third of the way through in 3 hours. Um, and I'm just hoping he comes back so we can play some more. Uh, Gunfire Reborn, I recommend. And I think it's cross play, so I really shouldn't have had as much problems as I had. Maybe it isn't, because I don't know why Clinton and I didn't play this. But yeah, I put 50 hours into it and didn't have to buy it. Woohoo! Ravenlock, I think was a game that I saw that looked like it had a short um, time to beat, which is another thing which is super appealing. And you know what? That is a benefit of game. Well, yeah, of Game Pass. Well, you can also just be a savvy consumer, of course. Where it's just like sometimes what's off-putting about a game is when you look at it and be like, oh, 60 hours. Who's got the time? Sometimes it's nice to just look into a game and it's low commitment. If it could just be a satisfying experience for a fair amount of time, that's better than the obligation. Which may contradict what I said earlier about how I like open world games. Um, and sure, and yeah, so I use this as a in order to help keep my achievement streak going. Here's a game where I know the time spent per achievement is very short, so I just have it ready to go if on a day where it's just like, oh, I haven't gotten any achievement yet. Boot up Ravenlock, and yeah, apparently in 5 3/4 hours I completed it. Easy. Um, and yes, I remember. Yeah, this I had clips of because yeah, it was just the combat was funny. You could just hit X as fast as you could, just do endless damage. It was the kind where just like enemies couldn't retaliate when they're being hit. So it was just like, what is the point? Also, you had a shield, which no, just keep hitting people. I think if you blocked it, took stamina away, so you can only do it so long. It's just like why? Um. So games with gold did exist, and like here it is, just the second game I played on that was included with games with gold was this compelling game. It caught my ear. Yes, called The Veil: Shadow of the Crown. And one thing that was keen about this game is that it was designed for the visually impaired. So, well, one thing I had to make sure I had to play with headphones on, which I almost never do unless I happen to be playing and chatting on Discord or PC, I suppose. Um, and yeah, it's a lot of so I think you're a princess, and in a time of impending war, and you're outside of your kingdom, and then your wagon, or whatever fancy term, carriage is probably the I don't know, princesses ride in wagons. Uh, you get ambushed or whatever, you get separated from the convoy, and you find this villager who he quickly identifies, oh hey, you're blind, so you gotta travel across the lands to return to your kingdom. Um, However, and then there's flashbacks of you training how to use your sword and shield with your uncle for a situation, just in case of a situation just like this. Um, and yeah, it's pretty straight. The combat is pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of it's like, okay, well, uh, I don't think you could hold up your shield and swing your sword at the same time. So it's one or the other, and you also had to choose like, okay, am I swinging it to the left or forward or backward, blocking to the left or forward or backward, and you had to rely a lot on audio clues. All they ever showed you on screen was essentially maybe not exactly like if you just hold your eyes closed, but like a lot of stars just floating on the screen, which when you're in cases where you were exploring, because like sometimes you'd be in a town, you could see the star shapes moving to indicate that you were like moving a direction, which means that okay, that doesn't really benefit anyone who can't see and is playing this game, but it's like you may as well have something for the rest of us. I think in one case I did call shenanigans because it was a clue on screen. It was something to do with like there was a cliff face somewhere, or and just because of how the stars are moving, kind of indicated like, oh, okay, there's a breeze coming from. It's like, wait a second, I shouldn't be able to see anything like that. What? Ooh. Um. And yeah, I was kind of bummed because one of the achievements was, complete all the quests. And that included one quest where it was just like, okay, we are traveling from one town to another. Hey, our dog is barking at this in this direction. Should we go investigate? And I was just like, no. I want to get safely to town. So, and then it's like, oh no, that was one of the quests. Even though every other quest in the game before that was like, you're in town and someone's like, hey, I have a quest. Do you accept this quest? Yes, no. Which, by the way, that was another thing. So, menus and stuff, I guess that's just something I never thought about. Um, like pause menus where it's just like, you gotta do, sometimes you gotta do stuff too. Like, not just quit the game or see a map, which once again, map. But like, looking at your equipment and your currency, seeing how much you have, how much you can afford to buy things in shops. What do you do in a game for the visually impaired? So it was actually just the answer is just a lot of, it would read it aloud for you, and that was certainly wild. Um, and there was a lot of, oi, I've got a problem. My chickens are on the loose. They have a quest. Do you accept the quest? Press like left tab for no and right tab for yes. Which, I mean, I'm sure if you looked at all types of tropes in games, you'd be like, if you think about it, that really is wild and doesn't it ruins immersion. But you know what? They're just like, hey, let's make this for everyone. And more power to them. Which does remind me, according to the Game Awards, there was an award for accessibility options, or even like innovations in accessibility, and Forza won. So good for them. For for good for them for having an award, to remind people, to encourage people, hey, this is a thing we should strive for. And good for Forza for doing it, for having their ideas. I don't know what exactly. Someone told me, because I wasn't being facetious about it. I legitimately meant that was a good thing, good idea. And someone pointed out, yeah, apparently you could, through audio and perhaps other aids, um, you could be visually impaired and still enjoy a Forza game. I haven't played one of those in a long time. Let's see. Oh, so yeah, that was June 26th. Before I get to continue to keep going, oh no, why did I click on the next one? I think it's worthwhile to point out, like, so far all I've listed are games that I started playing in 2023 that were available to me because of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and Games with Gold. But I think it's worthwhile to point out that, you know what, there are some games that I started previous years that I continued to play. So let me just list some off. Power Wash Simulator, pretty much almost completed that. There's the challenge mode, which is pretty challenging. There's now DLC, which I actually am considering buying, but it's like $10 a pop. For like SpongeBob levels and Back to the Future levels just came out. So you could clean the clock tower in the theater where Jaws is playing, Jaws 3D, and the future of 2015. So Power Wash Simulator, Vampire Survivors, Disney Dreamlight Valley, which I'm about ready to wrap up, but there's still some very, very grindy achievements, which were taking me, well, I thought the numbers were half as much as they were. Dicey Dungeons, which I did complete. That was very satisfying. It was, when I first played it, it was fun, then ridiculously hard. Then I don't know if they patched anything or changed anything, or if it was just me, but I got the knack for it. It was great. Mass Effect: The Legendary Edition, um, and Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. That was fun, hilarious, not too demanding. And like Raven Lock, a game I just like. Well, I'll have it there for quick achievements when I need them on the fly. But I ended up giggling quite a bit, and they are working on a sequel called Turnip Boy Robs a Bank, which I believe is coming to Xbox Game Pass. It has been delayed to 2024. Yeah. Super Lucky's Tale. For every so often, I get an inkling to play a platformer. Um, and I found Super Lucky's Tale, and it's good. It's one thing that's kind of weird about it, though, is so you go into these hub worlds, and inside the hub worlds, you go into a level, and in the vein of a Donkey Kong Country or even a Hat in Time, it's like, okay, there's multiple currencies you got to catch. Some are just coins which you can use to buy costumes. Some are like the actual, like in Banjo Kazooie, the puzzle pieces, like the main thing you're collecting in the game. In this game, they're clovers and letters that spell lucky. All these things. Problem is in this in the way Super Lucky's Tale does it is that if you beat the level without getting all the puzzle pieces, in this case clovers, and then leave, you lose all the progress in that level. You can't just leave and come back. Or like, so every level had 4 clovers to find, and one was for like beating the level, one was for getting like 100 coins in the level, one was just like a hidden one, it like miscellaneous. And I don't remember what oh, and spelling lucky, if I didn't already say that. Like finding these 5 letters in the level that spell lucky, and then you get a clover for it. So then, yeah. So let's say if you accidentally beat the level without getting the 3 other clovers, then you kind of had to like restart, and that was kind of a bummer. So it's like every time I play the level, I'm just like, well, I may as well just not. I may as well just complete the level in the first go each time. Just a weird, strange complaint I had. There was DLC, also freely available. So yeah, I spent 13 and a third hours and pretty much completed it, except there were some super grindy ones. It's like, okay, I'm done the game, and it's like, okay, now get 100,000 coins. But it's like, but I beat the game and I don't think I got 10,000 coins, something like that. And there's another achievement for like get 30,000 coins. I was like, oh my god. So we'll see if I ever grind those out, like just watch a movie and have this on my phone and just follow a path that has a lot of coins on it and repeat. I don't remember why I started playing new Super Lucky's Tale, um, but I have a guess. And that is to do with Microsoft rewards. And part of the reason why I say that Game Pass is an excellent deal is because when I signed up when I signed up in the first place in December 2020, 2 things happened. One, I paid $1 for 3 months. I don't know if they do this promotion anymore. I'm sure the first month is probably a reduced rate. But yeah, I paid $1 for 3 months. But then it also looked at my games with gold, my gold subscription, and it converted the however much I had at the time, which I think I paid 12 months in advance, and then it just converted it to Game Pass Ultimate. So I paid $1, and it was gonna be like, okay, so your subscription lasts 3 months plus, I don't even remember, let's say 8 months more than that. And the funny thing is, I could have bought more games with gold at the lower rate, that's lower than Game Pass, and they would have converted it, I think, for the equal amount. I don't know if that's a thing anymore that you can do, especially now that it's Game Pass Core. So probably not. Um, oh yeah. Since then, I have not paid any more money on Game Pass, and it's been 3 years. And how I've gotten away with this is through Microsoft Rewards, where so essentially what it is for 15,000 points. It's 15. Okay, 15,000 points. Sorry, I've been saying this for so long that I was like, oh, I'm sure I'm gonna know exactly how to say it. Yeah. Okay, so for 15,000 points, you can buy 3 months of what was gold subscription, but now I think it's like Game Pass Core. You can so 15,000 points, you can buy 3 months of Game Pass Core. Which at this point, now when you do that, and now that I already have a Game Pass Ultimate subscription, it tells me, hey, it's 3 months of Game Pass Core, but we're going to convert that to a relevant exchange for Game Pass Ultimate. Which they tell you, okay, your subscription expired prior to adding this. Like here's when your subscription was going to expire. Here's the new date it's going to expire. Whenever I count it, it's always like 51, 52, 53 days for 15,000 points. So let's say it's 50 days. At 15,000 points, so essentially that's 300 Microsoft points, reward points, per day. It's actually less because it's 51 or 52, regardless. If you look at the Microsoft Rewards app, you can get, and if you search on Bing, you can get 90 points for searching using an internet browser, 60 points for searching on your mobile device, and another 30 points for scrolling through their news. There's 50 rewards points up for grab for just like a poll of the day, some trivia, and a third link. Okay. On the Xbox Game Pass app, they give you like an average of 15 points a day just for signing in daily. You get 50 points for playing a Game Pass on PC game, and 30 points for playing one level of Bejeweled on the app on my phone. And I always just play level 1 and then start a new game every day. And for some reason, those two bonuses, the 30 and the 50, because I'm subscribed to Ultimate and because I have 7+ friends on Xbox, they double those. So instead of 30 and 50, it's actually 60 and 100. So I've lost count already, but that's already more than. But these are daily amounts that I'm reciting. So it's you can get way more than 300 points a day, but it costs less than 300 points a day to maintain the subscription. Also, there's stuff on Xbox for like every week they put out new missions for or every day they have ones for like play an Xbox a Game Pass game, get an achievement in an Xbox game. Now that's a kerfuffle. Now here's the sad news. All these things I'm listing, they've gone under some renovations this year, and they are getting crappier and crappier. It used to be every day you get any achievement on any Xbox game, or even a PC, Microsoft, Xbox game, 50 points, 50 rewards points, and then it had to be a Game Pass game. Where it's kind of like okay, and that's why I'm playing Ravenlock. So I'm playing Super Lucky's Tale. What was the other one I mentioned? Turnip Boy cheats on his taxes, evades his taxes. But then recently became now it has to be a Game Pass game, and you only get 5 points. And it's kind of like okay, it's still possible, but now that kind of got rid of the obligation. I don't feel bad if I miss out on it. if you open up the Bing app or search on Bing, every day there'll be new links you click on, which used to be 5 points each, 10 points each. Now they're only like 1 or 2, to the point where it's like, well, why? Also, I mentioned earlier, if you search on Bing, you get points per search. It's like 20 searches. Sorry, on your mobile, 20 searches, you get 3 points each. Recently, they added a cooldown timer, and that sucks. So I used to be like, okay, just search for Y, search, Y, search, Y, search, Y. Which, yes, I understand the point is they're trying to incentivize you to use Bing instead of Google. And I'm sure someone in some boardroom some office is probably thinking like, wow, look how much people are using Bing. Look at all these searches they're doing. And yeah, I know they're not getting meaningful data if I'm just searching for Y. For a day there, I thought, oh no, I actually have to type in real words. But no, thankfully, someone pointed out on the True Achievements page, no, it's a cooldown timer. So because I was taking the time to type out a whole word, the 5 seconds or whatever would elapse. It's probably not 5 seconds. It might actually only be 3, but it feels like 5, at least relative to just being able to go Y. They used to give you 12 points a day for searching on Bing, specifically on Microsoft Edge, but they got rid of that. It's kind of like, okay, who cares? Fine. Now, I guess I still use it, but now I don't have to. But yeah, so that's all the more reason why I say this is a great deal. Because it is currently, with the risk of maybe it won't, still free. Oh yeah, so why I brought this up at all is because they do have these weekly challenges. Some are, play so many Game Pass games this week, get so many achievements. Some are straight up, play this game on Game Pass, which, if it's a game I've already played before, it's no harm in doing that. If it's a game I haven't, though, then it becomes questionable, because it's like, ooh, now it's going to show that I've played the game, but I didn't get any achievements, or I got to be careful not to, because then it'll affect my, completion percentage, which means something to me for no reason, or for some absurd absurd reason. And then sometimes, rather than just play the game, there's some that are, play this game and get so many kills, rack up so much score, etc. So I'm pretty sure I booted up New Super Lucky's Tale once, because it was like, hey, go out there and collect 100 coins. I was like, I think I'm enjoying the first one, which I started playing Super Lucky's Tale July 13. For some reason, I played this July 21. My guess is it was an Xbox Rewards quest. A funny thing about New Super Lucky's Tale, though, it's not a different game than Super Lucky's Tale. I think they only came out 1 or 2 years apart, but one's a remake of the other. And I think the first level I played, I'm like, yeah, I already did this. An upside, though, I think they did get rid of the super grindy achievements that I mentioned earlier. So they did revamp at least that. So we'll see. But I think I discovered this, though, because there was one playing Super Lucky Tale, and there was a sliding puzzle, which I was just super stuck on. I always said my brother was greater at those than I ever was. People just have different skills and mindsets and things that they can grasp. So I remember looking on YouTube for a solution to this puzzle, and I was surprised to find that, like, wait a second, why is this clip from New Super Lucky's Tale showing me the solution for the slide puzzle when I'm playing Super Lucky's Tale? Like, the graphic, like, it was definitely the exact same layout puzzle, but slightly better, like, little smoother graphics, something like that. It looked a little different. I'm like, no, this isn't the exact puzzle I'm looking at. And then I think I somehow realized, oh wow, this is the same game. That is wild. Why would they do that? Why, or Yeah. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Um, Tinykin. Uh, yeah, another example of, or this is a game. Um, Actually, now I'm a little confused because I think it was a day one release that probably came out. I don't think it came out 2022, August 30, 2022, and I started playing it August 16, 2023. Okay, this was a game that I looked at. So it was on the service for a year, maybe a year and a month. What did I just say? No, a year. Um, and I remember looking at it and being like, "Oh, that looks neat. I'll play that someday." And then I saw in the news the news that I follow, which is achievement news mostly. Ugh, they're removing it from Game Pass. I'm like, okay, now's the day, and I beat the game and completed it in 2 days or 9 hours over the course of 2 days, and it was pretty satisfying. It's very much akin to Pikmin, um, without the fears of running out of time, without having to protect your Pikmin or they're gonna die. I mean, some of them, I think like the red ones are just strong, so you need so many to lift things. No wait, I got it backwards. I think the red ones explode, so you're inevitably gonna run out of them. But they know how many there are in a level versus how many you need to explode. It's so it is a very well designed game. There's a lot of I unfortunately I don't even remember what they were. I think they were just currencies, like in the aforementioned like Donkey Kong thing, where every level has so much points and something to collect, like 300 of the thing. I don't even remember. Plus, maybe with some rarer ones, which I'm not really sure you even needed to advance in the levels, or maybe you did. Plus the a lot of side quests and stuff. Point is, these levels, which were just the game takes place. Well, it's hard to say whether it takes place in a house that's giant, or maybe just this character is from a tiny planet, or some combination of that. But yeah, all the level, like, the entire game takes place in what appears to be a normal household, but like maybe it's abandoned and all these alien critters have or actually it's mostly bugs. It's all like character races based on um, insects and bugs. Pretty neat designs. Um, and with a lot of the furniture toppled over just so it could be like in forts and houses and stuff like that. So yeah, so the point is, the levels are each like a room. Like one's a bathroom, one's a kitchen, one's the foyer, etc., etc. And you're on a quest to get these artifacts, which are just like I can't remember the specifics, of like a spatula, a toaster, right? There's mystical artifacts, which when combined will create the ultimate invention. Um, Once again, reminiscent of Pikmin in that regard. And yeah, I found all the collectibles that there were. There were a couple that stumped me for a while. I don't believe I ever looked, but I was so satisfied with the design of the game. I was like, no, I'm not gonna. I ended up not looking up any walkthroughs except for a point where like you find these hornets, and it turned out this was DLC or a free update. There's these hornets which challenge you to races, but it's just like at this point I wasn't really that keen on like racing and time trials and stuff. So I did look up, and yeah, that was completely optional. It had nothing to do with completing the game, just a bonus. I think maybe you got different clothes if you did it. And the first couple ones were hard, so I was like, nah, I don't want to. I'm on a timer here, which wasn't entirely self-imposed. So yes, I depending on the price, I recommend this game. Like I say though, 9 hours. Keep that in mind. So great that it was didn't cost a penny. Games that shouldn't cost a penny. No, okay. Well, no, hey, that's harsh, man. Um, DC League of Super Pets: The Adventures of Crypto and Ace, which apparently Batman's dog can't fly, but that doesn't matter in this game. So it's very um fun. I mean, I didn't watch this movie. It probably didn't add or detract from the movie. I don't know. It's kind of on the rails. Star Fox flying around, shooting things. I don't think he collected coins. I think they were just bad guys, robots that were shooting at you, so you shoot them first. With the occasional upgrades and health pickups. And then there was a neat little metagame, or not, in between levels, there was like this pet adoption center. Yeah. In levels, you would find collectible like trading cards, which represented new pets to be adopted. And then as you beat levels, there'd be more prospective adopters. And there was just this mini game aesthetic of matching the right owners to pets to adopt. And then if you did well, you earned more upgrades. But yeah, that by the end of the game, there were still more pets to adopt and adopters, so you didn't have to do well. Yeah, it was just an alternative to doing well, I suppose. Apparently, I beat it in 2 hours. Oh, and this game was removed. Okay. Yeah. I don't think this was on my radar until I saw a thing that said, "Oh, we're removing this game, and it's a quick completion." I think I started. Yeah, so September 2 is when I played it, which would have been right along with PAX Kerry. So I played it. I started it just in case I didn't get any achievements while people were in my house that day. Except we did get some achievements playing McPixel 3. Which I think was the PAX Carry game of the PAX Carry 2023. Don't yeah. Maybe let appearances fool you. I don't know what you want from me. But you see, the graphics are very old style Sierra, Police Quest, Space Quest, old timey fun. Back when everything was wholesome. I don't remember if these games were wholesome. And you're this character who I believe the name of the guy is McPixel, and you go into these levels, and the game transforms into like a hybrid between point and click adventure and like a WarioWare game, where there'd be a theme kinda to these vignettes that you're transformed into. I can picture the first level because I was playing this game recently and trying to mop up all the the collectibles. I won't describe so fun. So okay, suddenly it's like they'll just say McPixel 3, and they show a train, and they show like, oh no, there's not like the track is out. You gotta do something. The train's gonna derail. And then you see the McPixel guy, and he's inside the train, and you see like there's an old man, there's a lady with a fishbowl, and it's just like, what do you do? And you see there's just like a timer counting down, and you're just like, fishbowl, and then you get a fish. Okay, how does that help? I don't know. Go into the bathroom, throw the fish down, and then it just shows, well, that didn't solve the problem, and the train goes off the tracks, explodes. McPixel 3 cuts to another vignette of where a plane is flying, and then one of the engines explodes, and you see McPixel, and you see the pilot's knocked out, or one's on the ground, one is at the terminal, but he's passed out, and another pilot just goes off screen, and you click on one of the pilots, and McPixel, for whatever reason, just starts like jumping on him. It's like, okay, that doesn't help. You click on the pilot that's standing next to the terminal, and McPixel just picks him up and just like slams the pilot's head into the terminal, like, quick, fly the plane. It's very mute. It's all, and although I will say, like, so we play this at PAX Carry, a bunch of us, like, it's just one person playing while the room watches and kind of like pitches ideas. And I think the most fun came out of just like, well, mostly me playing. It was me playing most of the time. Me just being like, okay, McPixel, and then just me just reciting what's going on and then reciting exactly what McPixel does, which was just crazy wackiness this entire time. And yeah, so each of these vignettes, there'd be like in a given level, maybe like 6 of these vignettes, which are related. In this case, are all just like vehicles in danger, and you'd click on thing, and then like either you succeed or like save the day, or you failed, like you didn't prevent the plane crashing or some other bad outcome. And every time you did something new, when they showed you like here's the outcome you got, they'd show like a progress bar showing like you found some new gags, like you found all these different outcomes. So you did get a sense of progression, or you could just straight up just try to go for like what is the answer, what is the right sequence of things to do. And like when I say there was a timer, like maybe you had 10 to 30 seconds in every given vignette, and then once you solved one vignette, it wouldn't show up in the rotation anymore. So it'd be like plane, train, subway, taxi cab, and then and then it would loop back to plane, train, whatever I said before taxi cab. But then once you clear train, it would just plane, skip whatever, boat, taxi cab, until you solve them all. And yeah. Thankfully, there was a button for you push it, you can see like, oh, these are all the things on the screen you can interact with. So once again, it falls under like, well, we got stumped at certain points because it did turn out sometimes it depends on timing. Like you can't interact with something until it just happens to like be on screen, or you have to do A before you can do B. One thing we were stumped on was like McPixel, and then you see McPixel and an old man playing chess, and then staring at each other intently, and then it switches to the board, and McPixel is one of the the pieces, and you see all the other pieces. They look like people wearing chess piece costumes, and it's just like, okay, I move this piece, and then it just shows like, no, you lose, and either the old man laughs at you or is upset that you're not playing right, kind of thing. We were stumped on that because we clicked on all the pieces until eventually it was just like, don't interact at all, and whatever the outcome. Like I think either like maybe McPixel just on his own just flips the board, or the old man may have just died, and that's how you win because he's like, has a heart attack, and that's how you win chess. McPixel! It kept showing McPixel on the screen, so that was fun too. Just try a thing. Well, that didn't work. McPixel! On to the next. And that's available on Game Pass. So much fun. And apparently haven't even played for 4 hours. This game had some buzz. Venba. I didn't like. Oh, okay. It tells a great story. It tells a story which needs to be said. Written from a perspective that we're all the better that we've heard from it. I just don't think it was a great game. The gameplay is that you cook these recipes, and even like the mother, whose name is Venba, reads from a recipe book passed down from her mother, and in some cases like, oh, the page is missing, or what was the instruction again? I knew you had to do this before that, before this. So in some cases it was a logic puzzle, and that was neat. Um, but yeah, you were there for the story, which was a bummer, but a bummer that I can see happens more often than you would hope for. Sorry, I just looked at. Speaking of bummers, oh man. Okay, so Starfield. You know what? Let me look at the. Let me check the list again. Okay, so between High on Life, okay, Immortals: Phoenix Rising. Okay, where I'm. Let me get to the where I'm gonna the conclusion I'm gonna draw. Blah. Starfield. I before looking, I was gonna say it's probably the first game. This is actually surprising though. First game on the list is like, okay, this game I absolutely would have paid full price day one, would have bought the game, and wow, what a value that it's on Game Pass. Or even it's like if you paid full price for Game Pass for the year, like this becomes an argument for like, hey, you should just get Game Pass. Hey, except for how Starfield turned out. But let's see. So Immortals: Phoenix Rising, I mean, that was a property which maybe I wouldn't even heard of if it wasn't on Game Pass. Um, like sure, it's Ubisoft, but like I've they're Far Cry. I haven't played all the Far Cries. Why play this other game? High on Life. Yeah, that was a game I was looking forward to. GoldenEye. Well, especially if it was going to be free anyway, it would have played it. Oh yeah, Life is Strange. I was saying I was looking forward to playing it. I definitely would have eventually. Okay, so I guess I'm wrong. But about my, but yeah, this is the first like, oh man, gotta play this. What a bonus that it's on Game Pass. Which, by the way, I was hoping. It's funny that after the Video Game Awards, Baldur's Gate 3 it dropped on Xbox, and the next day they're like, "Whoops, we forgot to announce it at the Game Awards." But what I was really hoping they were gonna say at the Game Awards is that Baldur's Gate 3 is going on Game Pass. No, they forgot to say that. Oh, we're releasing it on Xbox anyway. Okay, so Starfield, come on, man! It's it's the Fallout. It's the Elder Scrolls. It's and in space. You know what I did like, and was a game that I was super psyched for when I got Game Pass in the first place, was the Outer Wilds. Nope, I knew I always got it wrong. It's not the Outer Wilds. The Outer, no, it's another game which is very much like, sorry, the Outer Worlds. There we go. Ooh, saved it, Kerry. Um, it's one. It's past quarter past one. Um, and you know what? Having said that, I may have enjoyed Outer Worlds more than Starfield, or at least, or because, and a thing that it adds to Outer Worlds was that it was more concise than this game. Because yeah, Starfield, um, just based on the hype and momentum of all the other games in this series, like they've earned, and this is getting rarer and rarer because this and one other game I paid full price for this year. Or sorry, I didn't pay full price for Starfield, but I absolutely would have. I paid full price for one video game this year. Starfield would have been two, but now if I had to, because yeah, it's Fallout, which is incredible. It's Elder Scrolls, which I mean Oblivion, Skyrim. These are incredible games. This one had so much promise and potential. And then yeah, so that being said, I did play Starfield for 90 hours. Got all but one achievement, which is worth 100 gamer score. And that's reached level 100. even though like I completed it to my satisfaction, and I was still maybe like level 37, so in the late 30s for sure. Like I had to grind to 50, and I was just like, nah, I'm not gonna do that for 50 more levels. Wait till the DLC, which I probably will play if they think it's worthwhile to keep. I imagine they will. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. But like, it wasn't even nominated for anything. I don't think it was nominated. Well, I don't remember seeing it nominated for much, if anything, at the Game Awards. That was brutal. Um, that being said, it's like one of only 3 or 4 games that I've played that came out this year. So it's kind of my, well, okay. Tears of the Kingdom, number 1. I forgot about Hi-Fi Rush, but now I'm playing again. It's pretty good. I just mentioned Venba, which I didn't care for that much. And then it's kind of like, well, technically GoldenEye, but come on, the game's 20 years old, easy. Or is it even closer to say it's 30 years old? um, High on Life was last year. So yeah, so had I forgotten about High on Life, like Starfield would be my runner-up for Game of the Year. Um, but yeah, I don't know. There's just so many things that were bothersome about it. Where it's just like, if you just made a different decision here, like inventory management, like being able to know what planets I've been on, or like make a list of my favorite ones. So I want, it's, yeah. I feel like, especially because I keep mentioning Midnight Fight Express, and you'll see tomorrow how many games I buy and then end up not playing. Or well, hold on, I think I've mentioned, actually only. So it turns out I do play the games to satisfaction. Most of them. Point is, it's like there are other games that probably deserve my attention more than Starfield, but I kept going back to Starfield with like come on, try again. You should like this. um, or it's just like there's other games that were just like, well, why does that not get the same attention of like, you should like this, try it, eat your food. Um, but yeah, so Immortals, Phoenix Rising, I put in 100 hours. This 90. So actually, it might be the second most time I put in a game this year too, which is wild. Um, Beacon Pines, another example. Hold on, how many examples are there of games that were removed? So I decided to play them. Uh, Life is Strange, Gunfire, but I was kind of already playing, but that sped it up. Tinykin, DC League, Beacon Pines. So yeah, this is the. Oh, hold on. Beacon Pines, but then also ones that I felt to like going back and playing because they're being removed. Uh, Young Souls, Guardians of the Galaxy, The Ascent. Okay, so maybe like 8 games or so that were being removed, so I was incentivized to play. But yeah, 5 of which were like, oh well, because they're being removed. Hey, let's start them up. Beacon Pines. It looks the right amount of scary for me. Torn between like cutesy wootsy and ooh spooky. And it turned out to be pretty good. I could probably do with a little spookier, but I liked it. Yeah, not so much in terms of gameplay necessarily, if at all. But no, it just tells a story of someone who's an orphan, and also some kind of deer, making their way through a small town that has a few heavy-handed influences on it, which is to say, like one mysterious or just I was gonna say mysterious corporation. It's mysterious because all the employees except for one look the same, and they all have clipboards and ask you questions, like interview questions, and like the mayor, everyone seems to fear and respect him. Um, I can't remember if it's like first day of summer or something, or a young lad and his faithful friend just doing rowdy kid stuff and annoying their older sister, well, the friend's older sister, and then exploring somewhere they shouldn't be with terrifying consequences. And there was a neat aspect into it where at key points in the game, they'd be like, "How do you react to this? Like, what is the word you would use to describe how you react to this situation? Do you use like honest or lie?" And then it's just like, depending on what you choose, the story splits into two branches, which there's a very clear menu of like, here's the tree again. Which fork would you like to re-examine? And you end up going back and forth on the very varying branches. So there's a bit of repetition, but also it's kind of like, oh man, I can't wait to find more words so I can go back to this branch, which was scarier than this one. Um, but yeah, it tells a pretty. It's if you liked, was it called Night in the Woods? And they might even be the same people involved. If you liked Night in the Woods, 2017 game. So what happened was yesterday I was doing this Game Pass annual review, and I was even doing it late at night, thinking. And I even had a moment where I thought, oh, it's a good thing I'm doing this at night. That should help with latency in that because who like is everyone else in the neighborhood using the internet at past 1 a.m. on a Tuesday, Monday, whatever day? Probably not. And one of the last things I was doing, I was talking about Beacon Pines and just thinking, oh, it wasn't made by. Oh, you know what? I still don't have an answer to that. Was it made by the same people who did Night in the Woods? I think the answer is yes. Hiding Spot Games, published by Fellow Traveler. But yeah, as I was googling, okay, Night in the Woods, who made that? Infinite Fall Secret Lab. Infinite Fall, developed by Infinite Fall. So no, not. It looks like not related at all, actually. Okay, but so when I looked up Night in the Woods, I'm like, oh, why is the internet going so slow? And I looked over at the Twitch Studio app and saw, oh no, it's disconnected. You're not connected to the internet. So that was a bummer. And I'm almost done. So now, rather than just conveniently being able to export this from Twitch up onto YouTube, it looks like I'm able to download the video from Twitch. So hopefully I'll just be able to download two videos, edit them together seamlessly, and publish that. So pardon the interruption. So here we are. Games I was playing on Game Pass that I started in 2023. The last one is September. 19th, Beacon Pines, which was taken off in September, and that's why I played it then. A good romp for 5.5 hours. Neat experience. Very cutesy. The right amount of spooky for me. It's suspenseful, not it's not spooky. Um, Another game I picked up, and this one, yeah, I think they announced it. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna look forward to playing that, and that was Gotham Knights. Now, what happened with this game was that actually, at some point in the year, there was a Humble Bundle. Was it from sorry, yeah, from Humble Bundle specifically, um, to raise money for Turkey. Um, and it was $40, and I'm like, well, that's kind of worth it for Gotham Knights. And then I just happened to look and realized, wow, there was maybe like 40 other icons there, and I didn't play any of them. Even though the good stuff on there was like 911 operator, 912 operator, which sound intriguing. A Picross game, but just didn't touch any of them. I thought it was worth it for this. Played it, ran it on my computer. It turned out I couldn't run the motorcycle driving parts. Like I just couldn't see the motorcycle at all. But so it's like, but it otherwise seemed like, you know what, a decent game, because there certainly is a question of, oh, is Gotham Knights a good game? And it's hard. Well, when you say good, it's, you know, easy to compare things to other things, and with this game, it's hard not to expect, oh, okay, well, is this going to be Arkham City quality or consistency? And it's just like, no. Fortunately, about like 60% of the way playing through the game, I realized that's the wrong game to compare this to. I would say, so yeah, compared to Arkham, no, not like this. It's got stealth bits, it's got fighting bits. Neither are as satisfying as any of the Arkham Batman games. Um, but what this game is comparable to, and I will say is better, is the Square Enix Marvel Avengers game that came out a few years ago. Um, with the advantage, though, that the Marvel game, you have the Marvel characters, and it is a bit more exciting to be like, oh man, I could be Kamala Khan, Ms. Carvel, Ms. Carvel, Ms. Marvel. I could, you know, be Iron Man or Thor, and or the Hulk, and all these characters play pretty drastically differently. I mean, at some point you get Hawkeye, and you also get like a Lady Hawkeye, and it's kind of like, okay, there's a bit of reskinning here. But with Gotham Knights, unfortunately, I picked Tim Drake, that Robin, and I saw at no point that a need to switch. Um, so you got there. So yeah, I enjoyed this game. Apparently put 49 hours into it, and there were two free DLC things which switch from the single player story to a more raid based multiplayer game. Although apparently you can play the whole game multiplayer, but I don't play games online too often. Plus, with a story based game, I always am just fearful that anytime I lobby up with people, they're just gonna say like, "So, how about that ending, eh?" Spoils. um, yeah, the raid based game. But I stumbled upon a funny thing where it's just like, okay, so the first DLC, which was, these are two free updates, it's like, okay, here's a quest line you got to follow, and then the second DLC was the second line, and then what I ended up doing, pretty much by accident, was I played. I was making my way through the first one, and by the way, it super leveled me up to the maximum level real quick. I unfortunately played it before finishing the story, so I was over leveled when I went switched back to the story. But then you start unlocking, very slowly unlocking good gear and like materials. You're supposed to craft gear. You could really, I think it's a live service game at this point, and that's why I'm comparing it to more a Marvel Avengers rather than any of the Arkham games. But then at one point, I just thought, you know, I'm gonna try this second quest line from the second DLC, and I wanted to play like one or two levels, and I was getting a multiple ranks higher of, like, you know, so not just epic gear, but like legendary gear, mythic gear, heroic, which weren't even categories when you played the story game. And by getting that gear, I was good enough to solo the first quest line. Uh, so that was fortunate for me, unfortunate, and I kind of robbed myself of the game. But like, no, the raid stuff is not good. Like there's no match. Like you match make by just saying, "Hey, I want to play," but you can't really match make in terms of like. So there's 30 levels long. You can't be like, "I want to match with people who are on level 8 or 9 or 10 or so on," and you have to beat them. Not necessarily like if you jump in on someone and they're doing stage 12 and you haven't done stages 1 through 10 yet. It still counts as doing it, but you then can't start stage 12 on your own until you beat stages 1 through 11. So I was kind of frustrated I couldn't find people. So I jump into random games and be like, why is everyone playing the same three stage 1, 2, 3? And then when I decided to solo stages 1 through 30 myself, I realized, oh, no, it's because it's the same three stages over and over and over again. So maybe had I stuck with randos, I would have got that much faster, but managed to. Once I had that, once I stumbled on that legendary gear, was able to solo it, and then I didn't even bother doing the second run. I'm like, nope, I'm good, I'm good. Um, good at a very good ad for Game Pass, I figure. Another game I started was Quake 2. Which yeah, I don't know. I just saw on it that yeah, it only takes a short amount of time to beat, and I thought, oh, this might be like going back to playing GoldenEye, a nice, these games have prestige. They were legends when LAN parties were the king of the roost. What am I saying? um, so I just wanted to see like what was the big deal with Quake, and yeah, this so it says a short time, but I think it's assuming that you knew how to you've played these games again and again and again, and if you play it now, nothing's new to you, but it's new to me, so I'm finding it's just pretty darn hard, and I'm even playing on easy, just trying to beat these games at this point. Um, but and it's even got a bunch of add-ons and even like levels from an N64 port. So it's a decent, it's a pretty good remaster. Not sure if will get around to finishing it. Another game I started playing was or have started playing is Arcade Paradise. Um, it's a novel experience. You start off as a person who you have a wealthy parent and you're, I guess, out of college or like ready to be an adult that age, and the father, who as far as I tell, you don't ever see, but you get all these phone messages, um, gives you a laundromat and says, "Go manage a laundromat." And in the back, there are some arcade machines, and your dad is all business, 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 but doesn't seem to realize hard work in business. Doesn't really seem to realize that, you know what? As long as people are doing laundry and paying so much for loads, and they've got time to kill, arcades in the back could very well be profitable as well. So so at this part, I'm 3 hours in, and I'm still doing a lot of loads of laundry are there. So you got to put them in the laundry machine, wait for them to be done. While you're waiting, you go around and you pick up garbage around the laundromat. You find gum, you unstick it, you unclog the toilet, you throw stuff in the garbage, and then if you have any other downtime, hey, you could play an arcade game, which each have their own little missions in them, and they're pretty fun. Um, I don't know yet if there will be any game that's just like, wow, this is an amazing, fresh arcade experience. But a few of them are pretty catchy, and just like, yeah, I can really see sinking my time into it. And if I had to work in a laundromat and only had to do 5 loads a day, yes, I would have put a lot of my own quarters into these machines. Hopefully, it gets to a point where like maybe the laundry part is completely optional, or maybe your business can become profitable enough that you can hire people to do that part. I don't know. But you know what? In terms of a discussion earlier where it's like sometimes it's just fun to play a game and make progress. And I'm still in the stage where it's just like, level 1, level 2. It doesn't say that blatantly anywhere, but like the beginning is my point, and just mindlessly doing laundry. uh, it's no power wash simulator, but it's got its own charms in it, which perhaps people will be like, well, at least people playing Power Watch, they were like, "This is no arcade paradise." So I'm convinced this game has promise. And let's see, November 10th. The most recent game I played on Game Pass is RoboQuest. I did mention earlier that Gunfire Reborn was taken away off of Game Pass in October, and so Gunfire Reborn was my first roguelike, roguelite FPS. And then so that was gone, and I didn't feel like purchasing it, so I thought, well, what else is out there? I didn't even realize that like this one just was added recently or became a full game. I think it may have been in beta for a while. Um, and yeah, so it's a very so this is also a roguelite FPS. And yeah, I'm still in those beginning stages where I'm not very good. It's very hard, but you know what? It feels like a good progress of um, I'm not necessarily beating the first world right away, and now I feel I'm confident I can each time. Although I haven't gotten used to the weapons yet, and that is kind of the tricky mm, yay or nay thing about roguelikes like this is when you have little control about weapons you get. I mean, the gold standard for roguelikes, or a gold standard, is Hades, and like before you started a run, you pick the weapon you want to do. So you can just be like, I love the shield. Maybe sometimes I'll choose the spear or swords, but I'm gonna stick with, okay, at the very least I know I like this weapon, so I'll play with it. So games where it's just like where you start off and you don't know what weapon you're gonna get until you start, or you open a chest, it's like, oh, these guns, this one, I guess. It's like at least they force you to try new things, which is kind of like the first step. So in this game, I don't know. I'm not switching weapons a lot. Maybe I should be. I, ugh, I haven't figured out what's good yet, but I'm having fun, and I just like in the last couple of days started unlocking new characters. The default one has an ability like you put up a shield, or like a force field, I should say. It's not like an offhand uh, defense, but a force field. But it only lasts like 2, maybe 3 seconds. Whereas one of the more recent characters I unlocked can straight up stealth and become invisible, so you can wander off. And I find that's a way more effective defensive ability, rather than being I'm invulnerable and then rushing into danger and then suddenly you're not invulnerable. Um, I think stealth is better to just like, okay, I'm out, and then you reposition yourself into somewhere better. Um, but yeah, otherwise it's fun, it's bright, it's colorful, it's got guns. Hopefully not too many. That was one thing with Gunfire Reborn. It's like, yeah, you unlock guns, but it's just like that was they're not necessarily better, and because of randomness, if there's more guns but they're not all useful, it becomes harder and harder in that regard. Um, yeah, and so far that's all. So that is the annual December to December games I played on Game Pass. I'm not certain if I will start any new ones, but we'll see. That also doesn't matter for December. Today I finished the TrueAchievements.com 12 days of achievement challenges. Um, and I deliberately tried to not start any new games just so I challenged myself to only get achievements in games that I've already played, so I can't just be like, oh, I need to. Well, never mind. But recently I did buy Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the complete edition. I was waiting and waiting and waiting for it to be a reasonable price, and I think I succeeded. Um, and I think that'll be my next big game. So which hopefully pays off as well as Immortals Phoenix Rising did in this year. So in conclusion, I started throughout the year. I started on Game Pass. I started 26 new games, 21 of which were worthwhile. 5 of which I realized just based on how low of a score, how few achievements I received, how little time I put into them. 5 I probably should not have started looking back. And through Game Pass, there were 6 games. One, two, three, yeah, six, and 6 games I continued playing from last year, as well as a handful of games that were removed. But I thought, okay, well, that gives me a reason to play them, but I was otherwise done with. So depending on how you look at it, there's 20. Let's see, about 32 um, games that I played throughout Game Pass. And in my next video, that were free through Game Pass or freely accessible. Uh, and you know what? And I feel I should compare that to games I purchased, which will be the next video, and which I've recorded. Apparently, I purchased 39 games, so I'm still buying. I'm still paying money for video games. Um, and I played 32 of them. So you can see it's about an even mix, which I think is pretty interesting. Um, but it's also interesting is how much I'm spending on the game. So that'll be covered in the next video. And likewise, 7 I did not play. Whereas here, likewise, I said there were 5 on Game Pass I started, but probably shouldn't have. And like I say, and as for Game Pass this year, I did not chip in an additional dollar for a subscription. So yeah, I'm gonna say still a pretty darn good deal. Um, the list of games, there's probably nothing there that well, talking about the Game Awards, it's like well, Tears of the Kingdom was my game of the year for certain. Uh, Starfield being the runner-up. You will notice none of the game, and otherwise I didn't play any of the other nominees. That's probably true. I mean, Venba won an award, for best indie studio maybe. And Hi-Fi Rush that got best music direction, something to that effect. So yeah, I'm not really playing a lot of new games. Not really taking advantage of day one releases or mega titles, but you know what? The way I see it, games are almost a commodity at this point. They just keep getting more and more freely available. I really don't. There's not a lot of draw, at least not for a cheap bastard like me, to pay full price for many games. Um, so I don't mind paying. I don't mind playing games. I don't object at all at playing games uh, that came out the year prior or years prior. The only trade off being, multiplayer games. Um, but I don't play a lot of multiplayer games, online games anyway. So yeah, in conclusion, Game Pass still a great value, of which I would go back and say, oh, you shouldn't have thought about it for so long. Just do it, do it, do it. Now, hopefully, I can edit these videos together. Boop.